Hello guys. Today we are discussing sport-specific training for hiking. And I'm going to dive into one of the most important principles when it comes to sport and exercise science, and why this is so crucial when you're training for a specific hiking goal. Now, if you're training for a hike, you really do need to get specific. Now, if you're not, you potentially could be wasting your time. Now, that's pretty much the reason behind this podcast that we're talking about, in the sense of trying to give you some specific actions that you can do to help improve your hiking performance. And this is something that often gets lost in the world of training for hiking, because many hikers have sort of had this experience where they'll go into a local gym. They'll be like, look, I'm training for a big adventure coming up, whether it's an overnight backpacking trip, whether it's a longer trek, whether it's a through hike, or whatever it may be. The personal trainer will be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, I know how to help you. They'll give you some general training, which will be great. It'll get you stronger, it'll get you feeling fitter, but then it'll get you 60% of the way. And then you'll be like, you know what, I feel like I need to be doing more. I feel like there's still challenges on the trail. I feel like I'm not getting better in these particular areas on my hiking, and this training's not getting me there. And purely for the fact that you can get a lot of general training from the general population in the fitness industry. So from local personal trainers, from physios, from podiatrists, whatever it may be. You get a lot of general training to help particular, areas of your fitness. But to really get 100% ready for the trail, you do need to be doing specific types of training, and that's what we're going to be exploring today. Now, one of the most important principles in the world of sport and exercise science is what's known as the SAID principle, which is SAID. Now, this stands for specific adaptation to impose demands. And really what it means is when the body is placed under some form of stress, it makes adaptations that allow the body to get better at withstanding that specific form of stress in the future, which makes sense. If if your body is put over in some type of place where it's not strong enough, it's going to get stronger to help you stop being uncomfortable in that situation in the future. And it's really a cornerstone and a foundation of what all your training should be based off. And it really comes down to it. If you want to get better at something, if you want to improve in something, if you want to get stronger, if you want to get fitter in a certain situation, you need to practice that. So if you want to get faster at running, you need to run fast. Or if you want to get a stronger squat, you need to squat. And in the world for training for hiking, hikers are pretty familiar with this principle in a general sense. In the way that every single hiker have heard the phrase, to get better at hiking, you need to go hiking. And yes, this is true on a really basic level and overarching scale, but we're going to get deeper in this because it's super important if you're trying to improve with something on the trail. Now, we all have particular parts on the trail we struggle with. Maybe it's inclines, maybe your legs burn out, or maybe you're getting huffed and puffed. Maybe it's maintaining a quick hiking speed. Maybe it's carrying a heavy pack. Maybe it's on descents. Maybe it's on unstable terrain. Maybe it's on traverses, whatever it may be. We all have particular areas which we do struggle with and which we probably could improve on. And while taking a comprehensive approach to training is important, meaning working on your strength, working on your endurance, working on your aerobic capacity, and all those other things we talk about on this podcast, you really do need to make sure you're actually training these specific things as well. Now, a story of this and sort of the inspiration behind this podcast today was from a lady and a hiker who I was chatting to last week. And she was on the phone with me because she was wanting to increase her hiking speed. Now, previously, she'd worked with a number of different professionals who had promised they could help here. She'd worked with a physiotherapist, she'd worked with a podiatrist, she'd worked with an exercise physiologist, and they'd all said, look, I can help you with this, I'm going to give you a particular solution, but none of it really worked. And in particular, she had a really interesting story about the physiologist she worked with. And basically, she saw a physiologist, and she said, look, I'm a hiker, I'm getting ready for this hike, and I really want to improve my hiking speed. So what this physiologist did was took her on a treadmill and tested her speed that she could walk at. And because she could maintain for whatever amount of time they did, I think it was like 10 minutes or something like that, she could maintain about a 5.5 kilometers an hour or 6 kilometers an hour, something like that. Basically, they said, look, your hiking speed's fine. And what you need to do is just get stronger so you can maintain this speed. which does make a certain kind of sense, in the sense that, like, if you can walk at a speed and your body is capable of that, getting stronger is always going to be better. So that's what she did. And they took her through a lot of strength training. They did a lot of work. She definitely got stronger. And through her hike, she felt fine, and her legs did feel strong. But when she was actually on the hike, she just didn't feel faster. And she was wondering, it was promised that I'm going to get faster, but it didn't happen. And when it comes down to it, the physiologist really forgot this SAID principle. And they forgot this specific training. Yes, general training is important. Yes, strength is important. Yes, general conditioning is important. But she wasn't training the body to walk faster. And she simply wasn't going through specific sessions, putting her body in this particular situation where you needed to challenge the body on the speed so it would adapt to get faster. And when we chat, it really did seem pretty obvious to me what she was missing in her training. And we did discuss a number of different ways and a number of different situations in which we could actually train the body to hike faster in different parts of the trail, in among all the usual strength and conditioning that would go with a comprehensive preparation. And in all honesty, this goes for about anything you may be training for on the trail. If you need to carry a heavier pack, yes, strength training is going to be important. Yes, your normal hiking is going to be important, but you also do need to train with a heavier pack. If you need to get better on unstable terrain, yes, balance exercises are going to be important. Yes, stability is going to be important. Yes, improving your leg strength is going to be important. But you also need to expose yourself to that unstable terrain. Now, obviously, this can get tricky in certain situations if maybe you can't get out hiking because of the weather. Maybe you're going on a snow hike and you live in Australia and that's just not reasonable, or whatever it may be. But if you do have the opportunity to expose yourself to this stimulus, then you need to do it. If you want to get better at a certain part of hiking, you need to be training that particular type of hiking. So yes, when you are looking at your training and preparation, please, please, please do ensure that you are following a comprehensive and hiking specific strength and conditioning programming. So make sure you're ticking off your bases of strength training, make sure you're doing your conditioning, make sure you're doing your core development, your mobility, and all those things that we talk about on this podcast. But please, please, please don't forget to get exposure to the particular aspects of hiking that you need to improve on, whether that's speed, hills, unstable terrain, heavy pack, whatever it may be. That is the most important thing that you need to include in your programming, and all too often it does get neglected. And all too often, if you are going to see a general personal trainer or a general coach, it is going to be skipped. So you need to fill those gaps yourself. So I hope that gave you a little bit of an insight into sports-specific work. I think that should be relatively valuable for everyone listening, whether or not you're doing your own training, whether you're working with a coach at the moment, just so you can know, hey, how can I structure out my training program to get me better at certain situations? Or if I'm working with a professional already, how can I build out what they're giving me to make sure I'm ticking off all my boxes? Now, if you do need help, and you do need some ideas around how you can find those specific sessions to improve those certain situations on the trail, and how you can really, really hone in your sport-specific training for hiking, I want to extend the invitation to come and join the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. Now, if you do have questions on this, feel free to join the group, post up in the group any questions you might have, and I'm more than happy to give you some examples around particular workouts, particular exercises, which may help you in these situations. If you're not part of this group, it's absolutely free, and it's going to be a great training resource to help you with your preparations and just expand your knowledge on all these subjects that we touch on in the podcast. So I'd absolutely love to see you there. It's the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group, and I'll leave a link for that in the show notes below. So thank you so much for listening today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed, and we'll talk to you very, very soon.